Good morning, dear nuts and bolts listeners and followers. Welcome on this Friday to another series on the nuts and bolts. Today, we're going to talk about one of my most favorite and passionate topics, which is the cost of unhappiness in the workplace. And there'll be some pointers that I'll go through, but I really want to just discuss this topic for you because I think most organizations are really striving to have happy employees, knowing very much that happy employees are more productive employees, perform better, are not absent or rather present within organization, that it boosts team morale, motivation, engagement. So all these things that we really strive towards in organizations. However, often we get the equation the wrong way around, and we look at it from once we have the time, we'll focus about happiness in the workplace. And unfortunately, you will never have the time to look at or bring that component in. So it is really looking about fostering happiness in the workplace first, because knowing that that does have a direct impact on the bottom line. And it's actually been scientifically proven that happy employees are around about between 12 and 15% more productive, and that unhappy employees are exceptionally costly. So it's a very sunken cost for an organization. And right now, specifically, just coming out of 2 years of very strenuous pandemic years with downturn in the economic cycle and financial strain, companies are very much in a survival mode and are really endeavoring to keep ends meet, often trying to stay productive, keep their doors even open, and maintain all their customers and employees. So I understand that that happiness does not take center stage, but actually it should, because it is, as I said before, a sunken cost. So you can work as much as you want to about trying to make things faster, smarter, uh, working on margin time, time efficiency, and reducing stock turnover and all of that. But until you don't have employees who are happy, it won't really make a difference. Over and above that, you have a generation or two generations as a point of reference, actually, the millennials as well as Generation Z, who are no longer interested in really working for organizations where they do not get fulfillment out of it and also have a positive experience. And that's something to wrap your head around, is that that generation is really looking for organizations and cultures where they have a positive experience, and they will very quickly move on to other organizations if they do not encounter that. So let's just pause there for a moment and think about what is a positive experience. And it is so much more than just having pizza days or casual days or the odd get togethers. I mean, those are literally, I would say, hygiene factors by now. They're absolutely necessary to have happen. But to have a positive experience is really to have that level of autonomy in your working environment, so you can choose or have that flexibility to choose a little bit more when you do what. So, of course, the hybrid working environment plays into that hand, but still, it's choosing how I do my work. So, becoming very clear, this is my task and I need to deliver it by a certain date, but allowing room for my creativity and my personality to come in and allowing that. So that's where the autonomy comes in. Also, people want to have a bigger sense of collaboration, having buddy systems and knowing that they can pair up with people, and also having the luxury to um, how do I say this? Perhaps delve into projects that are not even in their working domain or even in their department. So having that um, freedom to perhaps explore how another department works or how certain task works, or working on a certain project further. And if you think about it, many companies who have the competitive edge or who bring in different products allow their employees to use an hour or two every week to perhaps just freely do work that is not necessarily allowed or in their work domain. So that's how, for example, the favorite post-it notes came up, because we had employees starting to figure out how they could do something differently, and they started becoming creative and innovative, but they were given the time to do it. However, obviously they were held accountable to demonstrate at the end of a 2 week or a monthly basis of what did you do with the time. Um, so, so employees do want more autonomy, more flexibility, but a buddy system. And as I said before, unhappy employees is an absolute sunken cost for companies. And because it's not always that measured by, for example, the human resources department, it isn't really that tangibly noticeable on how much wastage goes into absenteeism or lateness or perhaps not being present at work or sick leave. Disengagement, I mean, that's one of the biggest ones. I mean, disengagement, or as we often refer to it, as where employees are sleepwalking through their day, is about 67%. That means we have 67% of people sleepwalking through their day, and about 33% are actively engaged. Now, that equation is really very skewed because you are paying 100% of a employee's salary and you're not getting all the engagement. So we do have to look at the happiness component to actually stimulate that from employees more and more. So employees do want fulfillment. They want to get satisfaction out of their work. They want to know where their career path is going, and they want lots of growth opportunities. So they want to learn. And especially again, the younger generation, if they don't get a clear career path or lots of opportunities to learn and grow, they will most probably within an 18 months to 24 months depart the company and go to another organization. And that is a very, very costly exercise for companies, and the most expensive one. And previously, I read that an employee leaving a company with the whole disengagement, and then you have to recruit a new employee. Perhaps you have to use a recruitment agency, and then you have to still induct them and get them settled in, and until they're at that level of high performance where the previous person was, really was around about 12 months. So you lost about 12 months of productivity, and it costs you around about 12 months of salary to really have that level of efficiency. However, that number has even changed, and it's become 2 years. So if your staff keep on changing every 2 years, you are continuously, as a leader, doing training and education and inducting people which obviously distracts a lot from your job tasks, or perhaps growing other employees, or even doing your own work, which creates a huge energy draining deficiency and perhaps a resentment to that whole process. So it becomes more wiser for organizations to bring in a strategy to think, how can they retain talent and retain people, and really making that a center focus of their business model as well as their strategic decisions. So regardless if you are a company who has board of directors sitting around a table, or if you are a solo entrepreneur, well, not quite solo, but if you have a few employees working for you, that does become a key discussion item the whole time. So let's have a look at what are 10 signs of unhappy employees. I think the biggest one and the most easiest one to see is being absent from work. And that is a very tangible item to really start working out, because you have paid this employee for the day's work and they haven't shown up. So either somebody else has to do the work, or that work lags behind. So there's over and above that you're paying a salary and this person hasn't arrived, there's also a slowness in productivity and performance. So absenteeism is very costly. So unhappy employees also do not work extra hours or go the extra mile. They'll literally work their specified hours. So I don't know if that's 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever it is, but they will not volunteer to put in extra hours. They'll literally do a job. And again, that is something to look at. How do you get people motivated, and what are their values, and how can you bring them more in, and what are their goals, and how can you connect them? So that is something to look at. The level of excuses increase on why something wasn't achieved or delivered or performed on a due date. So really that increases quite substantially. So it will be the system that didn't work, or the power that went down, or so always looking at other items and why things didn't happen, which dovetails directly into the fourth component of blaming others and not taking accountability. So if 3 and 4 arrive, then that's a clear indicator that psychological safety is not present in an organization, which means that employees do not feel it's a safe space to make mistakes or take ownership, and they feel they'll get punished if they do make a mistake. So that again is a culture that needs to be looked at and something to be addressed and discussed and amended. Tardiness comes in, so we're not getting high quality work, we're getting mediocrity, perhaps sometimes below that even. So what happens is that somebody else has to redo the work, which delays the process, takes up their time, takes up their energy. We don't meet perhaps client deadlines, but tardiness just comes in where it's not at that level that we want it to be. And again, their conversation needs to come in, and perhaps the biggest misalignment there is for leaders to use the values of an organization to have these hard conversations when it comes to tardiness, excuses, or blaming others, to say these are our values as an organization and you are not delivering at them, or you are not meeting the values, as well as performance evaluations. So those are absolute tools that leaders can use to hold employees accountable. And if they don't do it, then they themselves are not really stepping into those shoes. But anyway, those are the three components that dovetail together that are an indicator that we have unhappy employees. Sixth one is reduction of interaction. So here employees will stop interacting with their team members. Communication will start become very slow. Information sharing will become very limited. So they start to withdraw themselves. They do not participate a lot in conversations. So regardless if it's in person or if it's online conversations, they will literally just become very passive participants and not voice their ideas or their thoughts. That again is a clear indication that you have an unhappy employee amongst your midst, and that requires conversation. Isolation, so they become, I would say, non-team players. They really want to become solo players. They like to do things on their own. They withdraw even more from the team and the group, and that the danger is that they are left out, and the danger is that the leader leaves them out of opportunities or giving them projects, because this employee is not front of mind. And remember, a happy employee wants to actually grow and learn and become their best and have career development. But an unhappy employee will not give you the room for that. So again, it's becoming very aware of that. 8 is less energy, so there'll be a bit of low levels of energy, and they won't be very motivated, very excited, and they'll just be a little bit more lethargic. And being very aware that energy is contagious. So what happens is, if one person in the team is unhappy and they show this very energy, it's very contagious on the other team members. And without them consciously being aware of it, they might absorb this energy from another employee, and before you know it, they've also caught this bug, and it carries on, because it just becomes contagious. So again, that is where an unhappy employee becomes quite dangerous, if I can call it that. There's an increase in mistakes, because obviously there is a level of presenteeism. So the body is present at work, but the mental mind is not. So I always call it load shedding of the mind, because it's exactly that. That's, the person is there, but there is just nothing firing away in that cognitive brain. So what happens, again, mistakes happen, tardiness, blaming others, excuses, that whole cycle happens. And that is a clear demonstration that we are having an unhappy employee, which costs a lot of time, energy, performance, productivity, morale, all of these things. And then the 10th one is that they have a lack of interest to grow. It's this whatever attitude of, do I really need to go to this course? Whatever. I need to do this training? Whatever. And that is not really what an excited, happy employee wants to do. They really want to be engaged. They want to grow the company. They want to grow themselves. They believe in the values of the company. They believe in the vision and the mission of the company. I mean, they come with totally different energy. So those are the 10 signs of unhappy employees. And the challenges for leaders is to see the signs and start changing them, and really proactively putting in a lot of energy and focus to change that. Because if it starts with one employee and it's not counter driven, before you know it, everybody's got this contagion, and you've created a culture in your team or your organization. And once the culture is there, that's even more time consuming and difficult to change, because now you have to change a whole behavior of a whole group of people, which is way more draining and exhausting. So I would like to invite you to really start looking out for who are the unhappy employees in your organization. Start having conversations with them about what will it take for them to be at their best. How can you support them? How can you serve them? What will it take? And sometimes it is even letting an unhappy employee go because they might just really be in the wrong job or in the wrong position. But it does start with conversation and also about holding them accountable. And really, it's from an ethical point of view of you want to have happy employees within organizations. We spend so much time at work that we actually have a right to be happy. So as a leader, it's also about creating that environment for employees to flourish and actually to be at their best. So, yeah, that is really where I want to leave you with today. And it's really about these 10 points. So, have an amazing Friday. Thank you for tuning in today again on our slot on the nuts and bolts of leadership. And we will see you next week with a guest speaker. Have an amazing week and goodbye.